Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Global Happenings Today TV. A lot is happening in Southeast. A lot of people are wondering what's the fate of Southeasterners when it comes to the issue of presidency, Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, and the whole of this triangle is forming into one. Right now, the indigenous people of Biafra are giving instructions. If you're living around Southeast, you're living in Southeast, or you have relatives living in Southeast, I think you should listen to this very carefully. Well, before we go into the news proper, I would like you to subscribe to our channel if you have not done so already by clicking on the red subscribe button. Beside it, you see a bell notification icon. Please go ahead, click on it to get notified as soon as we update our channel on YouTube. Welcome to Global Happenings Today. Well, the indigenous people of Biafra, Ipob, has declared a sit-at-home on January 18 ahead of its leader Nnamdi Kanu's court ruling on his fundamental right at Umuahia Court. However, the group has insisted that there will not be any sit-at-home on January 19, the scheduled date for the ruling proper. In a statement by the spokesperson of the group, Ipob, on Saturday, it noted that some disgruntled principal officers of the group is planning to thwart the directive issued by its directorate. Powerful, while advising the people to shun any sit-at-home except that fixed for the 18th, warned that the group would deal seriously with any member going against the letdown order. Although he did not state the reason for the lockdown on the 18th, he urged members of the public to show their solidarity. He said, and I quote him, "Following our leaders' upcoming court proceedings on the 18th, the 19th, and the 20th of January 2022, which is about next week, we wish to remind Biafrans that there will be only sit-at-home on 18th of January and not 19th and 20th of January. In keeping with our avowed solidarity with our leader, the entire Biafra land will be on lockdown only on January 18 for obvious reasons." This is quite interesting. I continue with the news. He said that Biafrans should know and understand that on the 19th January is the judgment day in the suit by our leader against the federal government, which is pending before an Umuahia High Court. So there will be no sit-at-home on that day. Again, we don't want to compound the pains of our people. Hence, we will limit the sit-at-home to only January 18. Biafrans and residents of Biafra are free to go about their businesses without molestations on the 19th and 20th January. Anybody foreseen or anybody found foreseen non-existing sit-at-home on 17th, 19th, and 20th is criminal and must treat as such. Ipob, that's indigenous people of Biafran leadership, have given order, and that order is what is signed. Everybody must be careful because this wave that is coming will consume many, and every principal officer of Ipob, that's indigenous people of Biafra, mostly the coordinators, must know that it will bounce on their heads if they don't checkmate the activities of members and call them to order. Indigenous people of Biafra is not a village or a social club where everybody will behave untowards what people like cultists. It is on the table. And to the knowledge of Ipob leadership, how some principal officers were encouraging evils in Ipob without minding the repercussions and consequences, but we want to make categorically known to them that it will come back to him or her that encourages evil against his or her fellow human beings. Still Ipob talking. Still Ipob talking. I quote them again. We realize that some unscrupulous and traitors are trying to create confusion about these days and dishing false information and propaganda, trying to create confusion in Biafra land. Ipob never declared sit-at-home on 19th and 20th of January 2022. Therefore, we want all Biafrans to go to their normal businesses on these days without fear. We expect our people everywhere to adhere to this directive and refuse to be misled by sacked members of the indigenous people of Biafra in Europe and America. IPOB remains unshakable, built and rooted on the rock, and will remain so until the freedom for Biafra is fully achieved, Ima Powerful stated. Now, from all indication, even if you're not sure of anything, from the statement made by Ima Powerful, you will now know that there's a lot going on behind the scene that does not meet the eye. A lot of disgruntled members are talking behind, and they're actually working, obviously for obvious reasons, they're working against the directives of the indigenous people of Biafra, and working against the directive of the directorate. And this is not getting funny, where my powerful has IPOB directorate and IPOB leadership have said that it's only about 18th that should be declared sit at home. There have been news everywhere that it's almost a week. In fact, I got the first one that was almost going to be a week. It's going to be 18, 19, 20, because all those days are days for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's hearing. The first one that will be taking place in Umuahia to know the verdict where Mazi Nnamdi Kanu stands, whether the federal government will be taking him back to Kenya, where he will now move down to UK if, of course, he wins the case. The suit against the federal government filed in Umuahia, 5 billion naira suit, and of course other fringe benefits attached to that suit. But if he doesn't, of course, the next hearing, which is going to take place 18, 19, 20, 19 thereabout, it will definitely continue. And of which, of course, Ifeanyi Ejiofor has assured his people, assured Umu Chineke, quote unquote, that there's no shaking, no cause for alarm, that the legal team are fully prepared. Don't also forget that he had announced earlier in the year that there's a legal luminary that has joined them, a senior advocate of Nigeria that is in the forefront of their defense, which they recently brought in during the Christmas period. It was more like a Christmas present for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and he is going to be at the forefront of this legal battle. And now they are of the opinion that they should all stay calm. Now, Ima Powerful is now warning that there's no sit at home on these days except for one, and everybody should adhere to it. And it's rather unfortunate, it's still coming from disgruntled members of the indigenous people of Biafra, disgruntled members, people that were sacked, but they're still dishing information because most people in the public space have no idea that they were sacked. They're still bearing the name the indigenous people of Biafra and giving out instructions as at when do, bringing undue confusion and tension in southeastern state, and it's actually getting out of hand. If this is not copped now, whatever disgruntled issues they have, and they keep dishing out contrary information, contrary instructions, contrary directive, it's not going to all go well at all. You know, there's this saying that a house divided by itself cannot stand. If the disgruntled elements are not being checkmated, given, put in their proper places, then we may have an issue in our heart in no distant time. That's what we're going to wrap it up. Let's meet in our comment section. What's your take?